What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of The Danny Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, giving you commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. Before I get started on AEW Revolution, thank you, Harry Mason, for your subscription. Special shout out to you. Guys, I must say, I saw the big news that Tony Khan gave about buying Ring of Honor, and I love the way he pointed out that Shane had nothing to do with it. But let's get started with our opening contest as Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho faced off, and they faced off very intensely as the match started off with a suplex on Jericho hitting his head pretty nasty. Jericho was able to come back and make a couple of control moves, and while the fans were chanting Eddie, Chris Jericho flips him off. They traded chops, with Eddie Kingston being numb to most of the chops except for one, and like Eddie Kingston earlier in the match, Chris Jericho, no, Eddie, like Chris Jericho earlier, Eddie Kingston was suplexed and fell on his head. He also hurt his left eye for whatever reason. But the match continued. Eddie Kingston was resilient to two code breakers, escaping the walls of Jericho, and due to a stretch arm submission from Eddie Kingston, Eddie finally wins the match. And we all knew that Eddie needed to win this match because after that amazing promo that was cut a couple of weeks ago, we just needed to see Eddie win this one. He had to win the big one. He just had to win this one. Second match of the evening is a triple threat tag team match between the Dragons, aka the Undisputed Era, Lucha Jurassic Park, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus, and of course the Young Bucks, who mocked Shawn. Now, the match started off with Kyle O'Reilly and Jungle Boy, and we saw some moves from Jungle Boy diving over the top rope, running onto all other teammates, but he gets isolated while the Young Bucks and the Undisputed Dragons, as I'll call them, begin to argue a bit. Luchasaurus comes in and just wipes everybody out, smashing everyone's chest and choke slamming everyone and doing moonsault dives. Luchasaurus is like a mixture of Kane with a lucha libre because he choke slams people like Kane. He's tall like Kane, but he can move around like a cruiserweight, which is totally awesome. But we saw later on the Young Bucks and the Undisputed Era will go at it and fight because they were supposed to be in somewhat alignment with Adam Cole, but things are just a little bit fishy. A lot of amazing clotheslines. We saw Kyle O'Reilly, I believe it was Kyle, like Mox, do a push from the ropes onto clothesline, which had fans standing. We saw one of the guys put Luchasaurus in the guillotine lock, which would cause Jungle Boy to go for a, I don't know who went for that. I think it was one of the Young Bucks that went for the 450, but Jungle Boy went for the shooting star, which was totally amazing. And despite the crooked efforts of Young Bucks to use the tag team championship belt to cheat to win, Jungle Boy still kicks out, and it was the Jurassic Express move that got Jurassic Express the win, and they still retain the titles in an amazing triple threat tag match that might be on my top 10 for AEW matches at the end of the year. Our third match of the evening is a six-man ladder match, and it was a match. First of all, let me just say Orange Cassidy, is funny but a little bit strange. He's from parts unknown, weight unknown, and he comes to the ring rolling around, which is strange. He had a couple of close calls tonight. The first close call was standing on the back of Warlow and Hobbs. He almost grabbed the brass ring that looks like a gigantic ring that Sonic the Hedgehog would have to keep himself alive. The second time he almost had it was when he was holding the ladder while Warlow and Keith Lee had it. He leaped up the ladder, stood to grab it, only to fall in between, hitting his oranges, and he's always hurting his oranges. We saw some other amazing highlights with Christian spearing Hobbs through the ladder. I love when Keith Lee does this, but when you least expect it, he'll peer behind you like a horror film, and that's very entertaining. And then would get Christian. Keith Lee, Warlow, and Hobbs would fight, and I would love to see those three in a triple threat match. But Hobbs and Warlow broke the ladder together, and Hobbs and Keith Lee would be rammed off the stage by Warlow, who would go on to win the match. When Starks almost had it, Dan Hudson came out and caused a distraction and attack. But thankfully, it didn't happen. Warlow won the match. Keep Warlow in mind because as he grabs the big Sonic the Hedgehog ring, keep him in mind. And keep Ring in mind. Next, we have the anticipated dog collar match between CM Punk and MJF, my jealous fan. Now, the collars were black because the collars were brown. If they were black, it would have made me think of something a bit inappropriate because you got dog collars wrapped around people's necks. Anybody else had to ask the good Lord for forgiveness because it reminded you of something from the internet that was not very appropriate. Moving on, I digress, but the collars were brown, so I didn't have to deal with that today. I stayed righteous. Either way, great match. I really enjoyed. I like brutality tonight. Punk tracing back some Ring of Honor roots tonight. Nostalgia is awesome. I love it when they go back in time, just like Edge does the Brood. And the match started off with collars, and MJF almost got choked. And Tony Schiavone is at the announce table having fun because he can't stand MJF. Kind of like how Jim Ross on script couldn't stand Triple H because he was that good at being a jerk. However, Punk was the first to bleed in this match, and despite taking a beating from MJF and MJF taunting him on the mic, CM Punk tells MJF to go eat crap and like it. And that's just putting it in a PG form. And both men were able to escape each other's holds and go for roll ups, almost getting victories. MJF escaping the Anaconda Vice, almost picking a roll up win, and CM Punk escaping an armbar and then almost picking a roll up win himself. Then eventually, after a running knee with a chain wrapped around his leg, MJF would eventually bleed, and we were happy because I want to see MJ bleed. I feel very violent tonight. We will see Punk reverse a tombstone on the apron and give one of his own. He brought out thumbtacks and superplexed CM Punk on him. I was hoping MJF would go through the tacks though. Later on, we would see Warlow come out as MJF screams for him, and Warlow couldn't find the ring. However, due to that distraction and argument, CM Punk will put the GTS on MJF, and MJF will fall on tacks. Warlow actually knew where the ring was all along, and it is official that Warlow is now babyface. He is done with MJF. MJF gets punched in the face with his own ring. 1, 2, 3, Punk wins. I knew Punk was going to win. My money was on Punk, and I was rooting for Punk to win the whole time. In small news, we had another great match between Thunderosa and Britt Baker. Say it with me. DMD, as she likes to say it. It was a great match that I really enjoyed, but I would like to see Britt Baker fight by herself because her stooges, her female stooges, are always there to help her out. And of course, once again, we saw another Tombstone pile driver, and it was almost over. But due to the stooges, not so much. So Britt Baker retains. Thank the stooges. Here's another match I was really looking forward to, folks. Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson. These two haven't faced off since 2013 because at the time they were in WWE. But this match happened because it was just amazing. I really enjoyed it. A lot of amateur skills were on display until Moxley slapped Bryan. They would trade slaps. They would trade yes kicks. They would trade chest chops. They did a lot of trading tonight, and they would taunt each other, take turns taunting each other, doing jumping jacks. But after Bryan was caught running on to Moxley with a running dive out of the ring, both men would go into a fist fight that would see both of them bleed. They would trade great submission holds with Bryan Danielson. We saw a lot of blood tonight. Let's get that out of the way. We saw Bryan Danielson do the reverse dragon sleeper hold, and then we will see regular sleeper holds. But we would also see that running knee that finished off a lot of people. Motsley kicked out of that. We didn't see the paradigm shift. However, we did see Bryan go for a triangle leg lock, but because Moxley rolled him up for the 1, 2, 3, shockingly to Bryan, that Moxley won the match. But the match didn't stop them from fighting at the end as they would fight, and something very exciting happened. William Regal, who was released by WWE a couple of months prior, is now in AEW. How do you guys have room to put so many people on the roster? I don't know. But it was great to see William Regal, who slapped sense into both of them like a parent trying to bring sense into siblings and tell them, don't fight each other. Shake hands. You guys are supposed to show sportsmanship. It was like a parent that was trying to get their children to stop trying to kill each other and come together and be what they're supposed to be, which is family. Like Vin Diesel said, it's all about family. Next, we have Sting, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara versus Hardy's Alliance, as I will call them. And I need to say, Sting is so amazing to still be going at it at his age, near the 60s, probably at his 60s, to be able to do a splash from one of the balconies onto Andrade through the table is amazing. Sammy Guevara doing a Spanish fly from the top of the stage onto the floor through a table was amazing. But it ended with Darby Allin doing the coffin drop onto Matt for the win. And I love their entrance where during Matt Hardy's funeral, they would drive into the funeral crashing through. Darby Allin is always doing stunts. That entrance was amazing. Just to see Sting do that, awesome. Last match of the evening, we have Adam versus Adam, Adam Cole, baby, versus Adam Page and the Cowboy stuff. With a lot of amateur skills on display, and after Cole calls him out, what you got? Page got that forearm. Pretty even. Most of the match was very even, and then Adam Cole rammed Page's arm into the steps and took control for a little bit. And we saw Adam Page do a moonsault from the top rope onto the floor. He caught Adam Cole would catch the second moonsault with a super kick, but that would get a 2 count only. He mocked Sean with the Sweet Chin Music attempt and only would get caught in a dead eye. We will also see another dead eye later, except the second time would go through a table. And if I didn't know any better, I would think a lot of these guys were paying tribute to The Undertaker themselves, because this is the third time tonight we saw a tombstone pile driver, except we would see it from Adam Cole for the 2 count. Now, guys, if you're going to celebrate The Undertaker, don't undersell his moves, because it's supposed to be a move that puts people down, and they undersell it as a move that is just going to get a couple of 2 counts. That move destroys. Treat it like it. But either way, the match was still great. We saw Adam Page do a Spanish fly for the 2 count. We saw the Undisputed Era, as they were known, come out. I don't know why. But this would give Adam Cole a chance to go for the Panama Sunrise on the floor and in the ring for the 2 count. And that's also including the running knee. That didn't keep him down. Adam Page would go for his clothesline from the ropes, and it will still give him a 2 count because Adam Cole's knuckles touched the rope. These guys traded super kicks together and forearms and everything, But what really finished it was when Adam Page went for the running knee and then his own clothesline for the win. And this is another match that come the end of this year, I will include this match on my top 10 favorite matches of AEW in 2022. So, what do you think of the Revolution? It has been televised. So, what do you think about the pay per view? Let me know your comments in the section below. That's all the time I have for you today, and I'll be back with another review on all things wrestling. Have a nice week, folks.